And hello and welcome to our new episode of Coaching Couch. We'll be having today a special guest, and I can introduce you to our new co-host, Mark. Mark, welcome.
Delighted to be here, Darya.
Pleasure to see you. Thank you for agreeing to join us.
Yeah, it's great. I'm
So,
really looking forward to it today.
yeah. So Mark will be here if I cannot, or we can be both together online, or if something happens to Mark, if he has some prior arrangements, I'll be a host. So it's easier to have someone, you know, to help out with the broadcast. And we have three guests that will be speaking today about mental health. This is a big topic which is everywhere at the moment. But the interesting thing is, why is it here now? Why do we talk about now more than ever before? And why do we try to bring attention to it? We, of course, yeah, we will not try to talk about this in 1 hour to address all the issues that is there. Probably we'll have to do another episode. But for today, we'll just go through how coaching connected to mental health and well-being, trying to help people who needs help. And we also ask opinion of professionals, not only as coach, but a psychologist. She will join us also today. And let's meet our guest. Mark, please, if you have anything to say.
Yeah, I just think this is a huge topic, Darya. Like mental health means something different to everyone, and how is people's mental health? Where are you right now on your mental health journey? What kind of tools do you have to manage your mental health? Without
Mhm.
realizing, I think an awful lot of us have tools to manage our mental health. And it's only when we begin to see that we're struggling with our mental health that we begin to acknowledge those tools and so you try and find them again. So I think this discussion should be very interesting because it means something different to everybody. What is
Mhm.
positive mental health to some people? What is beneficial mental health? Where are the challenges for people? And with the pressures of our modern world, and I think in particular as we're coming out of COVID, and the effect that's had on us, our psyche, it's had a huge impact, and we haven't even realised it. And what that's really done for our mental health, because it's something I'm coming across more and more in the coaching space with clients. So I'm
Mhm.
really looking forward to getting the guys in, and let's see what they think about this piece too.
Yes, yes, sure. Okay, we have a coming back guest, Emma. She's been with us in our first episode when we were talking about coaching. Welcome, Emma.
Hi, thank
How
you.
are you today?
I'm good. Thank you. Glad to be here again.
Oh yeah, welcome. Anytime, anytime, whenever you feel like, just let us know.
Just pop in.
Okay, yeah. So Emma is author and mental health and well-being coach as well. We'll get more information for all our guests down below in the description later on. So whoever is interested in contacting them, please do so. We have Vaishali. Hello, Vaishali. And you need to get your mic on. Yes,
Hello.
perfect.
So I'll introduce Vaishali quickly. Vaishali is a fantastically titled Creator of Possibilities, is how she likes to describe herself best, which I think is beautiful. Vaishali is a fulfillment coach, a yoga meditation professional, an influencer, and a philanthropist. So I'm really looking forward to Vaishali as a happiness and wellness consultant joining this discussion today.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank
Very,
you,
very excited to
Vaishali.
be here.
Thank you for agreeing. Yeah, it was very interesting conversation we had. So I'll hope you'll bring it up again about
Yes, yes.
yeah, about your experience in different fields. Yeah,
Mhm.
and our guest Anastasia. Anastasia is a professional certified clinical psychologist. She has a Master of Science degree in mental health psychology from University of Liverpool, and she's been working in the Middle East for the last 9 years, providing educational, behavioral, and emotional development programs for children and adults with wide variety of challenges in group individual settings. So I'd leave some of that for Anastasia to say about herself, because the profile is huge and profile is so sophisticated that even Mark said that he has a bit of he's a bit worried to talk to such a professional. So please, Anastasia, can you just few words about yourself, about your profession, and how you end up doing what you do?
Um, I had been interested into mental health since my early childhood because I have few family members who was diagnosed with mental health disorders even before I was born. So I had exposure to mental challenges since early ages, and that what grow my interest into the field. And initially, I finished bachelor degree as a psychologist and educator, and then continue my education in the medical academy to learn about pathology, mental
Mhm.
health pathology. And later, I pursue master degree in the Liverpool in the mental health. Area, and my dissertation was about how fitness and sport affect emotional developmental and
Mhm.
cognitive development of children with autism.
Oh, that's fantastic. And you actually doing it right now.
Right, yes, I'm working
Mhm.
as a psychologist, yes.
Okay. And the question I ask you to prepare the answer for, because sometimes people are getting confused about psychology and psychiatry. Can you please tell us quickly what's the difference?
Okay. Yes, for general public, it can be confusing because there's psychotherapist, there's psychiatrist, clinical psychologist, general psychologist, coaching. What I have to say is that all professionals involved in the mental health field, they have their unique place and unique role in this. And so about psychiatrist and psychologist, there's three main areas of difference. First, it's kind of education and duration of education.
Hmm.
Then type of issues which they are qualified to address, and prescription, meaning who is allowed to make a prescription for medication and what kind of medication, and who is not allowed. So a
Hmm.
psychiatrist, it's a medical field, meaning the
Hmm.
person goes to medical school for normally 4 years of general education, and then 4 years of specialty in
Hmm.
psychiatry. And then on the top of that, if person want to work with children, it's another additional 2 years. So it's quite extensive and long education, very deep. And the focus it's on behavior and neurology. When we are talking about psychologists, they also pursue or they have doctorate degree, but they're not doctors. It's not a medical field.
Okay.
Yeah. And for example, in order to work in the UE as a psychologist, person have to have master degree or doctorate degree.
Hmm.
Yeah, and
Okay.
uh, so the tools which those two professionals are using are very different. Psychiatrists addressing mental health and behavioral issues through medication, and that's the
Hmm.
main tools which they're using. And they addressing neurological challenges or chemical disbalance.
Hmm.
Though for a psychologist, a clinical psychologist, the main tool it's a talkative therapy. It's a talkative
Okay.
therapy which is evidence-based. Yeah.
Hmm.
And
So this is basically what you wrote about yourself as well. That
right.
you are trying to find, yes, you are trying to find more holistic ways of helping people with their mental health issues.
Yes.
So not through pharmaceuticals, the pills, and also, so it's more about helping them, helping people who need help to go to find a way to deal with their issues in a more healthier, holistic approach.
Yes, and how I define it, it's to build internal therapist.
Hmm.
Because when we're using medication, it's always dependence on outsourcing. Yeah, and but when we're working with a holistic approach with talkative therapy,
Hmm.
it's building up internal tools, internal approaches which person can access at any moment of their life, uh, and don't have to be dependent on medication.
Okay, so you're very close to us, to coaches, who's trying to, um, who's not trying, who's actually helping a lot of people to go through their main problems in life and to get the way to the better future. So
Right.
you're much closer to us than, for example, let's say, clinical psychiatrist who's prescribing medication, because we are doing it in a way that we're finding um, better ways to do nutrition, your soul, your mind, your body, everything that needs to be taken care of for you to become healthier and better and feel better, and also keep your mental health in check. Yes. Well, thank you, Anastasia. That's very interesting. And Vishali, we would like for you to just little bit explain what is your um, main thing that you do, because when we talk, you explained to me very interesting um, stories, basically from your life and your experience. Please just tell us.
So, every morning when I wake up, the first thing I think is that how can I contribute? And I like to inspire people to, kind of believe in themselves, operate from a space of freedom, and also have a sense of belongingness. And this, in a nutshell, is what I thrive to do. In the bargain, I think there are so many other things, so many other aspects that come into play as well. It depends on which part. Like, for example, I'm also a certified yoga teacher, certified
Hmm.
life coach, and I'm also a philanthropist. So the model of work that I have is like a full circle. It works on. So when you do yoga, meditation, coaching, all of this, it's not just about yourself. Yes, of course, you build your strength, you build whatever it is that you want to overcome, whatever one is experiencing, but also move from there to come to a sense of contribution where where people, I inspire people to kind of come together, work on themselves, and also give back to the society.
Hmm.
So that's the model that I kind of work on. And I've had some really interesting experiences, which somehow just, I think, as when you say yes to the flow of life, life gives you these kind of opportunities. I've had experience in working with the refugees in Iraq.
Hmm.
Um, I've also trained NGOs in Iraq to, like a train the trainer for yoga and meditation sessions where we taught them how to do basic yoga, basic breathing techniques, so that they can take it forward, and you take it forward to the camps on a more regular basis. And that was the idea. And we again working on another program with one of the NGOs that's based in Sweden. So yeah, in a nutshell, there's a lot of work that I have done. I feel, but there's, no matter how much you do in this particular field, it's never enough. You always
Yeah.
feel that there's so much more that is required, especially now, like what Mark was saying with the pandemic. I think we've reached a very kind of a critical space where anxiety, depression is so common. It is,
Hmm.
at least one person in every household is going through something or the other. So I also want to thank you, Darya, for choosing this, Darya and Mark, for choosing this topic, because this is really something that is much much needed, to give this kind of an attention.
Hmm. Well, yeah, I feel like we'll have to come back to this topic again because there is so many things can be explained, explored. There are just it's 1 hour. It's not even enough to scratch the surface of this conversation.
Totally. Yeah.
Okay. So I think what we can do now. There is um, there is an agenda of today's broadcast, and I'll just throw questions around, and whoever is feel like it's directed to them, please, it's up for grabs, and others can also contribute to the answers because what we want to do. Everyone has their own opinion, and no matter what opinion is, as long as it's justified, as long as it's interesting and connected to something, I think it has a right and place to be, to exist. For example, there are people who really don't believe about mental health issues. They don't believe in them. They think that some people just uh, taking it too seriously or something. It's so, for example, it's not depression, you're just feeling sad, and so on. And from their perspective, you kind of understand it as well because they've never experienced it. They've never been around of people who experienced it, so they have no idea how to approach this subject, and they don't have knowledge. And the lack of knowledge, in my opinion, is a bit different from ignorance. I don't know how to explain. So if you don't have if you've never been exposed to that, it doesn't mean that you don't accept any issues. But if you know that this exists and you still you showing, you are rejecting anything, that's ignorance. That's what my opinion is. So why do you think we talk about mental health much more nowadays? Beside pandemic just opened a Pandora box, but we do have conversation about mental health for quite some time now. It's workplace, it's families, it's life in general. But why do you think we talk about it now much more than ever?
Darya, if I may first address
Sure.
your first statement about that some people cannot relate to mental
Mm-hmm.
issues. Yeah,
Sure.
because mental health, it's continuum. It's not
Mm-hmm.
one point where we all staying. Let's say fear, depression, anxiety. It's on continuum because the person may experience anxiety but still cope with it and do regular routines. But
Mm-hmm.
it also can reach the point when it's disabled person where there's impairment of the life as a result of this anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So some
That's
people
very good
have
point. Yes. Mm-hmm.
some people have enough capacity and tools and resources to address depression and anxiety and fear, let's say. But some people, especially if there's any other impairments in life, let's say lack of sleep,
Mm-hmm.
unbalanced nutrition, a lot of social pressure, maybe financial instability. So in those situations, the presence of anxiety can reach, can have more significant negative effects, and person will not be able to pull him or herself out from this state.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, totally agree. Yeah.
Sorry, one more point I wanted to say. About those conditions, they all normal for human beings. Yeah, what we are talking about, mental health,
Mm-hmm.
but they may reach the point where they're life-threatening, and that's when we're looking for the help of professionals.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when the depression, let's say, it's reaching the point of life-threatening of the person, when person will not eat or will not sleep, or if it's eating disorder. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so there's already no mystery, and it's not about question someone believe or someone don't believe in mental issues. The belief is not required. It's objective
Mm-hmm.
parameters which we can observe in another person. Yes, there
Mm-hmm.
is no test, biological test, where we can say like blood test and we'll say yes, this
Yeah.
depression. But there's very objective parameters which we can observe and say yes, this person is impaired. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. That's very good to know for people who suffer from depression. And if you yourself or someone you know are struggling with depression, please reach out for help. Help is available. Thank you, Anastasia. Emma, what do you think? Why do we talk about mental health so often
I, I,
nowadays?
I think Vaishali had something to weigh
Okay.
in on there.
That's
A
okay,
good
you
way,
can go ahead.
First.
good way to send the question away, right?
So I was just going to add on to the point that, one of the reasons why there is so much of, like what you said, why there is so much of mental health issues that are coming or they're surfacing now. I think it's also the sense of competition that is there in everything, and the peer pressure. The like social media has quite a big role to play as well. It has its pros and cons, of course.
Hmm.
But simple thing is that, everybody's so hooked on to that. And, if you like, and I think it's not something new. Everybody's spoken about this as well in the past, that like Facebook, for example, everybody wants to show that, you're living a very happy and a very cool life. Because you're seeing that everybody else who's posting stuff on Facebook is really cool, and so you want to kind of compete with that constantly. Similarly, even at corporate world, even at workplace and stuff, there's so much of competition.
Hmm.
Social life as well, whether it's about your appearance, whether it is about how you look or where you go or the brands that you wear, there's so much of pressure.
Hmm.
And I feel that I think this is just more and more increasing. It's increasing so much that now it's becoming difficult for, to cope with it, to keep up with it, rather.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I think that's probably one of the reasons as well why it is surfacing so much now.
Can I take that
Okay.
on, Vishali?
Yeah.
I see your point in terms of the competition, and our world is very competitive. Competition for a lot of people can be a positive thing. It can drive them on in certain ways to achieve. But where I think that competition is bringing us into a dangerous space is because then we're looking at scarcity. We're looking at not having enough. We're looking at not being enough. Like the very simple phrase, I am enough, is something people don't even say to themselves.
Yeah.
It's always, I'm
Hmm.
not good enough. I'm not right enough for the situation. We develop social anxiety because we don't think we're good enough for the company that we're in. So we take that competition that's in our modern society and we start looking at the lack of everything that we have. And then from there, we're building our pressure on ourselves. And that lack is a massive thing because that becomes, I don't have enough money, I don't have a big enough house, I don't look well enough, I don't have enough time. Like, time itself becomes that pressure from the lack of time that we have.
Totally.
And all of these are adding so much pressure onto ourselves all the time.
And you rightly said, it really, the focus is so much on the lack that we forget to breathe the things that we have. Like simple things, the abilities that we have, for example, the ability to see, the ability to walk, the ability to do stuff. We take it, so conveniently take it for granted, and the focus is only on what we don't have. And I think that's where I feel that that's where the problem rises. That, like you said, I am enough. Nobody says that.
I think I found one opinion that not 100% agree with. Okay, Vaishali, it's nothing personal, but I don't know. It's either I'm too old, I'm just too tired of all the social media influencers. Sorry, guys, but some of you are just really it's not real, and the amount of information there to show how wrong to pretend on social media is there. You're trying to influence something for money, but you at the same time influencing young people who think that this reality. People in our age who've seen the social media rise and fall and still continuing. We know that half of it is not real. We're very happy if you have a yacht and private jet. But if you don't, we accept you
No, we're
as you
not.
are. You don't.
Yeah,
Okay, Emma is
okay.
not accepting you the way you are. Well, the rest will accept you as the way you are. You don't need to have all this. The important thing, as
Totally.
Vaishali said, yes, you have two eyes, two legs, two hands. You should be grateful for what you have.
Mm.
And yeah,
I
yes, Mark.
think another side
Sorry.
of the the like all the media, social media and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
is that there's so much more awareness now about mental
Yeah.
health, about people who are suffering. So,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why people are talking more about it now. Um,
Mm-hmm.
like if you can imagine 30, 40 years ago, there was no readily access to proper good internet.
Mm-hmm.
What you heard about mental health was in the paper or on the news or
Yeah,
maybe an
it's
odd film
usually
you've seen.
Yeah, and it's usually
Yeah.
about people who's been committed to the hospital because they had
And get a
this or that
spike up their
mental,
nose
yes,
and
yeah, mental issue. They were not talking about real life scenarios where you every day you struggle from morning till night. Yes, that wasn't
We had a
something
phrase.
acceptable.
We
Hmm?
actually had a
And
phrase in
and
Ireland. I don't know if you recall it. People used to say that somebody was suffering from their nerves, and that
The
yeah,
was
nerves.
euphemism
Mm-hmm.
for mental health. And the
Mm-hmm.
nerves, which is a very interesting way of putting it, that the nervous system was bothering them, because there's a thing with mental health that we forget that mental health affects the whole body. And
Yeah.
there's a need from looking at mental health perspective to be a whole body health, because it's critical for getting to the other side of things. And I think there was actually old age wisdom in that phrase, Emma, that when we were growing up that people used to say it, because you could see people who were affected in that way. And it was how we spoke about it without knowing how to talk about it. But it
Mm-hmm.
was a strange way of acceptance around it, but not accepting for somebody to say it, but accepting for someone who was suffering from it.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
because when you think about it, like there is that one nerve that communicates with every single, is it the vagus or vagus nerve or something like
Yeah,
that?
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
And that communicates with every single endocrine system in your body and so on. So something happens there,
Mm.
it's curtains.
Yeah, very true. The wandering, I believe Vegas comes from a Latin. It relates back to vagabond, meaning the wandering nerve, because of how it connects to all the rest of the body.
Okay.
And do you guys think that coaching is really helpful in with mental health issues and helping people to go through each and every day, look after themselves?
I think
absolutely.
because coaching is so solution oriented, number one, and future focused,
Hmm.
more than looking back to the problems, then it gives a sense of hope, something to look forward to, something to move towards. And hope can be the one thing to obliterate a lot of mental health issues. So I definitely think that it's a really good discipline for mental health. Obviously not to be used in place of counseling or
Therapy.
therapy.
Yes, of course.
Mm.
That's never a replacement. And we've been talking. I don't remember with whom I had an interview about this channel, and we've been talking about coaching, that we are bound by ethics, by ICF, EMCC, and actually, human ethics. If you see that the person came for help to you and you see you cannot help them, you just send them to professional who's actually uh, can sort the issues that they have. We, as coaches, we have no right to try our best or just wing it. We'll try to help you and then see what's going. If you need a medical professional help, we just send you, we refer you, and we'll tell you that's not coaching material. Yes.
Mm.
In fact, also, I think it goes hand in hand as well. Coaching as well. So I've had an experience where, um, somebody who had come to me was diagnosed with bipolar,
Mm-hmm.
and was really into depression, and he was already seeking medical help, so he was already on that path. But alongside with that, he was very regular with the coaching sessions,
Mm-hmm.
and with coaching, he um, you know, was really able to get a grip of the emotions. Of course, there was medical support, and he had a little bit of a dependency on medicines as well. Having said that, with coaching, he was able to overcome that in a period of time. It took a little while, but with the help of coaching, because coaching also works a lot on the mind and on yourself. It kind of connects you back to your true self, right? So you find your strength within.
Mm-hmm.
Medical help and all of that is great, for support, but nobody wants to be on medical help forever by choice, right?
Mm-hmm.
We all want to be back on our feet. We all want to be able to handle our situation, our mental health, or whatever it is. I feel that in that space, coaching does play a role of support. And like you said, by no means it replaces or uh, the medical aspect of it. Of course, if somebody needs to be referred, they need to be referred, and we would suggest that. But alongside, I think coaching works very well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's been my experience, at least, that I have seen this person, from what state to completely coming off. And I'm not saying it's only coaching. It's his will, and it's also probably the therapies that he was doing, everything together. But coaching definitely helps, is something I can say,
Mm-hmm.
because it's been in my experience.
Yeah,
Maybe not all cases, but yeah.
we had this conversation with Mark just recently about when do you think coaching works? When do you think the coaching and therapy work together? And Mark had a very, very clear description of that. Do you remember, Mark?
Oh, that what I was talking about, when someone still can't talk about the narrative, when they don't have a narrative about what's going on for them,
Your
then they're not in the
story.
space for coaching. If you can't tell the story, then you can't move forward from the story. So if you can't tell the story, then you need the help of a psychoanalyst, you need the help of a psychiatrist in order to be able to tell that story. And that's where your therapy piece comes in. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm quite amazed at how many people that I come across who I work with in the coaching space who've been through counselling and been through therapy. And what amazes me is not because they find me to work with them. It amazes me because statistically, an awful lot more people have been through that space than actually are open about being in that space. I only had a conversation with someone yesterday in my house who told me they'd been in therapy for years or something significant that happened to them. And I can really understand that point. And it's good that people are doing that. It's not good that they're not opening up and being open about it to say that they're doing that, so that everyone knows that that's okay to do. Because I know that's a discussion point we need to get into too. Certainly the stigma of mental health,
Mm-hmm.
of
Mm-hmm.
these roots. Um, but I think that's the challenge. And we come across people in that space who are trying to tell the story, but they're not quite there yet. I think this is a piece here you still need to work on. And I have people who are still in counselling, but also in coaching, because they're still
Mhm.
working through stuff that's very much therapeutic, and they've got trauma in there. And as a coach, there's an NLP piece that can deal with trauma, but I much prefer to see trauma being dealt with from the psychiatry and psychoanalyst
Yeah.
perspective. And then the coaching perspective is, well, what's the plan? What are we going to do? How are we going to get you forward? How are we going to build that sense of yourself, and then see who you can be, and see how you can become yourself again, get back home to yourself, which I think is the key to all of our lives and our mental health.
Hmm. Yeah, that's
I
very
mean,
true.
it's two perspectives, isn't it? Two different perspectives. So like therapy or coaching will work on core wounds, core issues, and where all these limiting beliefs and fears, anxieties, depressions and stuff are coming from. The coaching then is separate, where it looks to now, where your strengths are, not what's happened that's causing you
Hmm.
a weakness, um, but where you are now, your strengths, and where you want to be. So you've got like past, present, and future. So they're two
Yeah.
different perspectives, which is why they work so well together.
But I think you need to connect all this past, present, and future to get the best result, because you can speak to me about what my strength now and where I want to be. But if I have a trauma that triggers every time when I'm trying to be strong or trying to go somewhere, then I have to still go back to my past and resolve it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there
And
is
then
no point of looking at now or future if you don't have your past. It's one of the blocks, I think, to be present, to understand yourself, and to know where you're coming from. That's basically three blocks of being. That's your well-being, basically.
mm,
I'd love to know, and I'd love Anastasia's opinion on this particular discussion.
I do agree with what all of you said. There should be a foundational stage where a person is ready to look into the future.
Mhm.
And because without this solid place where a person can deal with past and reflect on behavioral and emotional patterns and face it and address it, there is no room, there is no
Mhm.
opportunity, mental, emotional, even neurological opportunity to build up future. Yeah. um, and those tools are not necessary have to be placed by psychiatrist or clinical psychologist. There's let's say even clinical psychologist or therapist cannot really support person if person not sleeping, if person not eating properly,
Mhm.
if a person not drinking. So there's some biological and neurological predispositions which have to be in place. Yeah. And that's why there's movement, physical exercises, uh, taking care about your body. This should be in place for any person who is thinking about mental health, because none of the mental health issues can be addressed if biological and
Mhm.
neurological aspects are in a mess. Yeah. So when I'm starting to work with any of my clients, despite of their issue, that will be my starting point to strengthen up their self-care skills: sleeping, eating, moving, sunlight exposure, meaningful connections, not social media connection, but at least one meaningful connection with a person, and deliberate decomposition or relaxation skills. And
Mhm.
when we have these in place, then we can address uh, traumas. Then we can think about how to work with depression and anxiety or uh, eating disorders. Yeah, because otherwise we cannot even cognitively be accessible. We cannot even think straight. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So we go into the basics of raw, ready, able, and willing to make that change, even in the past, even in the future for coaching. Yes.
Yeah. When
So.
we
Mhm.
working, sorry, when we're talking about therapy, you cannot just jump into deep reflection. Yeah.
Mhm.
If
Mm.
Force
there's
someone. Okay, you have to look at yourself and yeah.
yes, there should be neurological and biological
Mhm.
predispositions which will allow a person to do it. Even let's say if we didn't sleep properly, didn't rest properly, we cannot access all our knowledge, or we cannot perform on the exam as well as if we would be rested.
Makes sense. Yeah.
I
Vishali.
think
Yeah.
that's
I'm
very
sorry.
interesting. Sorry, just something I was listening to. I was listening to a podcast, a non-being podcast with Kimberly Wilson just the other day, and she was talking about that idea of whole body mental health, and she was talking a
Mhm.
lot about how critical your food is in your mental health. And we might
Mhm.
think that sounds a little bit extraordinary, but look at how we act when we're hungry. My God, I am a disaster if I'm hungry. Communicate with me, you know. And so, but what does that tell you? You know, so your gut biome and how it's affecting your overall mental outlook on the world. So there's an amazing thing, and like the same as when we're tired, you know, like the impact of basic things.
Attention spam as well, of course.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's unbelievable the impact the basic things have on our life. And when you're
Mhm.
feeling good and you're exercising and you're sleeping right, your mental outlook can be an awful lot different. And that's not to say you can still have mental health
Mhm.
problems. Of course you can, but you can manage those a lot easier because of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry to cut you off there, Vaishali.
And
No,
even when you're
actually,
tired,
I'd like to.
um,
Okay.
Go ahead,
We,
Emma.
Emma, we gave you to talk. What do you just say to Vishali? Now Vishali wants to talk. Okay. No, just no, I just want to ask, from your experience when you're talking to people, what do you see them about the how coaching can help Emma?
okay. Are we still on like the holistic type thing here,
Yeah,
or
yes,
sorry,
yes,
I
the
kind of
holistic one.
froze. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. Uh, Completely. Like even mental health is more than just positive thinking, but positive thinking does help, and positive thinking is 100% of the time vigilance. Um, you don't have to think positive thoughts if you stop negative thoughts. If negative, if there's no negative thoughts, all that's left is positive. But when you're tired, it is so much easier. Your guard is down. It's so much harder to stop these
Mm-hmm.
thoughts going to the dark place. Um, and coaching can kind of, but help in the kind of keep that muscle, that mental muscle,
Just
because
to
it's
concentrate on
subconscious and so
yeah,
on.
and concentrate on the future, concentrate on the goals. Yes, look for the steps to take. Yeah, yeah. Coaching, of course, definitely can help. Vishali, I was about to ask you about your experience in your previous employer. Remember when we talk about
Yes.
how technical versus coaching, and that was a very interesting
Yeah.
story.
No, so I think that was actually a great experience for me as well. So I was asked to do a coaching session for a bunch of pilots, and it was really interesting because we think when you think about pilots, think about any profession for that matter. We stereotype them, right? We think like, okay, coaching, how is it going to resonate and how are you going to receive it? because coaching, wellness, um, um, common for everyone. So when I did this particular workshop, it was about purpose and presence, and there was an element of meditation and coaching and asking those powerful questions and all that. It was really interesting to see that the feedback that I received was so I was a little bit, aware that okay, who I'm going to be coaching this particular session, will be receptive to deliver the session, and let's see how it goes. But I was really overwhelmed with the response, and to the extent where I had a couple of them in tears, saying that this is what we need. So when we talk about coaching, when we talk about these things, it isn't just for somebody who's, I think in this time and space, everybody needs it. In fact, I more so believe now that this is something that should actually start from school. We wake up early in the morning, we brush our teeth, we take bath, we wear fresh clothes, so much for physical hygiene. What about mental hygiene? Right? We absorb things in these interactions that we have, these experiences that we have, so much depression that we're holding. And then, they turn into certain thoughts, certain belief system, and then we start operating from that. So I am such a firm believer that now time has really come, that this has to be, mind is the only thing that's going to be with you from the time you are born to the time you leave this body. Right? It plays.
Okay.
So,
what about not school? What about families, parents? I think this is the best place to come from.
Totally. See, parents, yes, absolutely from home, but home you still do have some kind of support. But managing, I totally agree.
And to have conversation about mental health. For example, by the show of hands, how many families where we came from talked about mental health. We didn't. Yes, I know Anastasia told us that her family was actually introducing her to conversations. We never had conversation. We did have family members who suffered and unfortunately didn't survive, but we never talked about it. It was always considered as a big taboo. It's like, oh well, he felt sad, so and that's it. And in some of the, again, going back to social stigma, and we'll talk about it more later, people just call it a selfish act, and that's it. So, and we just move on with our lives. No one talked about, and we were kids, and no one talked to us about that. And then later on, you find and you discover it by yourself without any support. I mean, like immediate support, immediate family members. So
I'm also wondering whether, the times have changed so much that people have started feeling more lonely. You see, in those times, in olden days, there was a good family support system that was there. So even if somebody was going through certain things, you will have your family around. You will have that. Now it has become, the families are more nuclear, and all your friends, like what somebody had mentioned, that friendship on social media more than the actual interaction that you have with people, because that plays a big role as well. How like pandemic has made us all experience that. Online is great, easy, comfortable, but you miss that personal touch, that interaction with somebody who's there. And I also think that when you personally meet somebody, you're also exchanging energy. You're tuning yourself with that energy, so that brings in some sense of comfort as well. All that has reduced now.
But I also think some people find it very comforting to do everything online. You know,
Yeah.
when you have a extrovert, introvert. So for Sam, it's just like it's great. I don't have to go anywhere. I
Yeah.
just can see people online. I can order anything online. So it's
There is convenience in it, all right,
I can
Darya.
get dressed
also
from here.
convenience. True.
There, but to Vaishali's point, like I think the challenge in actually talking and the stigma around mental health and to actually speak about it is fine, provided
Mhm,
somebody's actually listening.
mhm,
You know, in our world, we're so much more isolated, and we've consistently got these things in our hands, and they're
mhm.
there, but we're not, our attention isn't on the person. And you see this in the coaching space and in the therapy space. Sometimes the greatest gift you're giving someone is you're giving them this undivided attention. That they actually are heard for the first time in their life, which is an extraordinary thing to happen to some people that they've never really listened to before. And that alone, just that ability to have a conversation, allow you to express yourself, is liberating. Is absolutely liberating. And I do think the modern world has removed an awful lot because our circles are smaller, our community is smaller, because we do not mingle in the same way. And we're all at fault for that now, because by the point in life, there's so many constantly like, oh, I just want to sit down, I just want to pick up the phone and just do things. So we're at fault ourselves for it because we don't actually go out and go, you know what, no, I'm not going to do that. I would wake up in the morning and I walk in my kitchen and there could be 10 other people in the kitchen, relations and neighbours or whatever, because that was how my family, there was a shop attached to
Mhm.
the house. It was a speakeasy, it was a gathering area, everyone disappeared. That was lovely, that was amazing, you know, we really got a community out of that. And now, I think we'd probably be calling the police if I woke up and somebody in my kitchen.
Yeah, what happened? What happened? Yeah, that's true.
If I may about social media and mental health, there was several researches how social media affect already existing issues with
Mhm.
mental health, like with mental health disorders, and they all have the same conclusion that social media makes all range of symptoms more severe. Yeah, despite of what person doing on social media, and the core, one of the core concepts is that social media gives an illusion of connection. You can have 1,000 followers, 100 friends, but at the same time, in essence, person feels much more isolated and disconnected because there is no authenticity, there is no meaning, there is no acceptance, compassion,
Human
empathy.
emotion. Mhm.
Yes, so that's why what we was talking at the beginning, coaching or any other therapy provides this place of being heard and being understood, and one meaningful connection is therapeutic by itself, and it doesn't matter the source with connection. It could be with your friend, it could be with your spouse, with your child, with your therapist, but presence of even one of these connection can improve the well-being of people.
Mhm. That leads to our next question. How to keep your own mental health in check? So I think one thing we for sure discuss it's social media. Just stay away from it. What other tips you guys can give?
I'm gonna have to go meditation.
Okay.
Never friend on us.
Okay. Any particular way of meditation? Because there are many.
Well,
I discovered there are
either
many.
go, yeah. Easiest to find in classes now would be guided meditation or meditation courses, then eventually progress to self-meditation, being able to meditate without the aid of a facilitator.
Yeah, Vaishali, I know that you can give us
Yeah.
examples.
So I think I think when you said stay away from social media, I think it's not even staying away from social media, because that is a source of kind of, connection, and we can't for a very long time stay away from it. Now we're so habituated with it, but being aware of the fact that how much time am I spending, so bringing that discipline, that okay, maybe maximum half an hour a day, whatever, So I think that discipline is very important to bring that in. And I absolutely agree with Emma that meditation, yoga, right, breathing techniques, these are amazing tools that that have stood the test of times. They're 5,000 years old. So if they're still here now, they're still existing right now, which means that they've done some good to some people. More and more people are becoming more aware of this. More and more researches have been done, and even the doctors and everybody's prescribing now that or suggesting rather that go and meditate, especially for anxiety, stress, even depression, breath work. I'm going to just take a moment to talk about breath work. It's really something to think about. So from the time a child is born till the time you leave the body, it is one thing that's constant, just breathe in and then you breathe out, right? So breathe in, the life is in, and breathe out. Our emotions are directly connected to the breath. We are angry, we breathe differently. When we are happy, we breathe differently. When we are nervous, we breathe differently. So similarly, when you learn these breath work or these pranayama, then there are lots of different breath meditations or breath pranayama, as we say, that can actually help you to change the way you feel. So I may be feeling really sad right now, or I may be very angry right now. And if I know that breathing technique, if I do that 5 minutes, I know that I will be able to calm myself. When we start doing that, one starts becoming more and more aware of the triggers, more and more aware of the fact that where is it losing it. And that's when you kind of gain your control back.
Okay. Yeah, breathing techniques. Yeah.
So breathing technique, definitely. Meditation, a lot of people say, oh, I can't meditate, I can't sit.
I was one of those people.
Yeah. We just listen to your experience.
Oh, that's I'm very skeptic into all this yoga meditation. And if you told me basically last year about meditation, I'd be just, it's not for me. And then the end of last year, so it's basically December 31st, my husband took me for TM. What is it? Transcendental meditation? Yes, that's the one. And we had 4 sessions. This is how you've been being taught how to do it, and and I was still until the last time I've been there, like the 4th day, I was still like, I don't know if it's for me or not. But what you have to do is 20 minutes 2 times a day. Because my life lately, it was a lot of being at home mom, always overthinking, always overwhelmed, with my son running around, mommy, mommy, mommy. So I thought for myself, okay, so I do have benefit of 14 minutes a day just to be by myself. And I went with it. And you know what? It actually works. Yeah, that's 20 minutes 2 times a day. It's actually enough for your brain to stop thinking, worrying, racing, and you just feeling more relaxed. During this 20 minutes, you can actually access some kind of level where you see things from different perspective, and you can actually solve problems. You can come up with ideas. It's interesting for me, as I'm telling you. But then again, as we talked with Emma last time, if 5-10 years ago someone said about coaching, we'll be like, no, not for me. And look at us now. We are actually coaches. So yeah, the meditation works. But I do think it's a different kind for different people. People just need to be willing to look for it and try it see what's good for them.
Yeah, very correct, because there's so many
Go
options.
for a walk, can be
Walk
meditation.
with dog, yeah, walk with your friends, power walk, and whatever works for you, but you just need to try and find what works for you, yeah.
I think Emma's referring to the actual Thich Nhat Hanh style of walking meditation.
Oh,
Which is a very,
that's
very
walking.
interesting style of meditation. I've done it. I've
Okay.
done it in a 10-day silent retreat I did once, and meditation tortured me. It tortured me 10 days. And I've done loads of different types of meditation, and it still has tortured me to this day. And sometimes I can do 10 minutes here and there, but what actually works for me is qigong. I do qigong, and that's my meditation. I do that for half an hour every single day, every morning, first thing, and it's about connecting, and it's about balancing. It's amazing, and everybody has to find something that works for them. But I think it goes further than that. Like, I think tools like meditation can be one. You need ways to calm the mind if you're getting anxious, if your thoughts are getting out of control. But you need other aspects of things. You need to have exercise, you need to eat right, you need to sleep right, you need to have a whole body kind of thing. You need to be able to challenge your own thoughts. You need to be able to step back and say, whoa, what's real about this, Is this thing that I'm thinking right now real? And rather than just, okay, I need to do 20 minutes of meditation to get back to yourself. You need to have more sharper tools to kind of come back to yourself quite a bit. But I think a lot of it too is this idea we all want to be happy. We're all striving for this thing called happiness. But happiness doesn't exist. It's not real. It's a feeling. It comes and goes. But if you have a sense of self, if you have a sense of well-being, well then if you're happy or sad because something has happened in the moment, then that's fine. It doesn't affect your sense of who you are and your sense of well-being. And I feel that that's where mental health really comes from. When you have that sense of well-being, a sense of who you are, sense of your own purpose in life, sense of mission of what you're trying to achieve.
Sense of you're content with being with yourself, yeah.
That's the massive thing. Like compassion for yourself is huge for me, and a lot of meditation can give you that. Especially a lot of great compassion meditation, that can give you a huge insight into who you are, and then you can forgive yourself for all those stupid things you do and wish you didn't do in the first place.
No to regrets, yes. Well, when we're talking within professionals, we all understand about it's very important to take care of yourself and your well-being. But how do you start conversation with a family member or a friend, colleague at work, who obviously needs some kind of help, but you don't know because of, again, stigma? We have social stigma, we have self-stigma, when people are afraid to come out and say that I need help because they don't want to be looked at differently. So how would you offer help without offending someone, without, without scaring them away from conversation? What would you suggest?
That's a great question, Darya. To sum it up, how can you help someone who doesn't want help?
Who's afraid to ask for it as well? Again, because of this, and I'm putting a little bit for everyone to read. That's quick definition. Yeah. No, that just.
The modeling is very powerful. So we cannot drag someone into the place where they're not ready to be. But we can do this by showing by ourselves that we, I can be vulnerable, I'm ready to be vulnerable, I'm ready to share my fears, my unsatisfaction, my pain, my fears. So when you show this to your friend, to your family member, when you the one who can be the role model, then person may understand, oh, that's okay. So maybe I also do this. And another thing which is important to understand, that no one can be dragged into on the journey of mental health. There are situations when family members or friends will force someone to start therapy or coaching or education, and it will have opposite effect. It will bring more alienation. The person is not ready for therapy.
And the resistance, yes, and
Yes.
actually it can break the connection in the family as well, and then the friendship. Yes.
So the best thing is which comes to my mind is modeling.
Mm-hmm. So being a role model, that's a great one. But
Yeah.
yeah, if you're a person who's struggling with mental health and you are afraid because you feeling as you're becoming a burden on your family, or you're afraid to be one, or to show that you're vulnerable and you need help,
Mm.
you can speak to someone else. You can speak to a person that you don't know, so you don't have any judgment, you don't have any bias. And of course, it's much better to speak to a professional. There are pro bono professionals as well. There's social centers that provide in psychological help. You just need to try and find it. Just reach out, and someone will always be there and ready to help. Just don't suffer it alone. It's a silent killer. Yes, silent killer.
That's so true, Darya. Like there's an MMA fighter um, won a fight the other day, and he wouldn't associate MMA and talking about mental health, but he finished the fight and he was asked about his motivation, and he said that his he was obviously doing this for his friend's kid who was very sick with cancer, and then he said, but also I got a call at 3 a.m. the other night to say my friend had killed himself, and he said I much
Mm,
rather you cried on my shoulder than I got a phone call to tell me this, And I think this is just very fresh in my mind because I've been asked to give a talk on vulnerability, and it's specifically for men because this particular group is doing work for women from a menopausal perspective, and they realise we don't do anything for men's health. How do we do something specific for men? So
wow.
I'm spending a lot of time looking at vulnerability, looking at my own vulnerability, and how can I be more vulnerable? And it's the stigma around it, and stigma is a good word because we look too often vulnerability is looked at as weakness. But the weakness is
Hmm.
not being vulnerable. The weakness is avoiding vulnerability. That's where the weakness lies. It's like I'm afraid to touch that. Vulnerability is courageous. Vulnerability is brave. If you're willing to step into that space, and we all are vulnerable. Anyone who goes into a relationship is vulnerable. Anyone who has
Yeah.
kids is vulnerable. You put yourself out there, you've no control. This is vulnerability straight away. And we experience it so much in our lives. But when it comes to these things and these thoughts in our head, we're afraid of that vulnerability because we don't know what the outcome's going to be. We don't know what it's
Mhm.
going to be. But not saying it, the outcome is going a different direction. We're going down a road that's not a good road. So when we
We
say
don't
that,
know. Yeah.
we can change direction, and that's the power of it. Vulnerability has extraordinary power.
We should be okay with not knowing if our openness will be accepted or not.
Mm-hmm.
It should not affect us that much. Our goal should be we open up and someone will be there to receive it. Maybe not everyone, maybe not the people we expecting it to support us, but there will be always someone. So we just need to be okay with opening up and not being scared of this feeling of judgment or misunderstanding or that or something else. But yeah, it's still a long way to go for people just to start accepting everyone as they are without judging them or thinking or they are not the same as society expected them to be. Also there's expectations from society. That's another topic to discuss. We should not really care. Just be happy, be yourself, enjoy your life. We have only one.
I read this quote. I don't remember who had written it. It was many years ago. That life is simple, we complicate it. And it's so true. Sometimes, if you look at it from a different perspective, it really is very simple. But we tend to complicate it by the way we think, the way we and society also has a big part to play in that, collective consciousness, of course.
Society, yes.
But yeah,
Culture, society, yeah, that
culture.
really affects us, yes. That's again
beliefs.
affecting our beliefs, affecting our values. Exactly. This all we have to. What I think that people time to time need to recheck their beliefs and their values. It's not like, okay, you've been born, you've been raised by this society and so on, and then you've been introduced to these values, beliefs, your understanding of the world, and this is what will help you throughout the life. I think one time is not enough. Every life experience, every journey in life that you have, every fall or every race, you just need to reevaluate all your beliefs, all your values, if it still serves you or not. Or you need to get another belief that you actually not what your parents said, you're not worthy, or so on. But no, you've done this, and not just to prove to them that you're worthy, you prove to yourself. That's, I'm telling you, that's such a interesting and deep conversation into, but we just need to talk more often about it.
It's you are absolutely right. We have forgotten to pause. That
Hmm.
pause to just think. I'm running right now, but is this where I really want to go?
Yeah,
This is what happens.
yeah.
I think if you look, we're all running, but we don't really know where we're going half of the time. Not everybody. Some people have figured out. Some people are still, but we haven't paused to see. Okay, I'm running in this direction. You may get promotion after promotion after promotion. I'm just giving the example of corporate, but it's not necessary that it's making you happy.
Hmm.
You know, like going back to the point that Mark was making, I differ a little bit from that. There is happiness. Definitely, there is happiness. A feeling of being alive, feeling of freedom. It exists only when what we tend to do, or what we are kind of trained to, think in a certain way that, if I buy a new mobile phone, the iPhone, whatever, or I buy a new brand new car and I'm going to be happy.
Hmm.
We are attaching our happiness with external factors.
Yeah.
But the feeling of happiness is happening within me. It's not in that mobile phone. I may have bought a mobile phone, but the feeling of happiness is within me. I may have bought a new car, but the feeling of happiness is within me. This, the external, we attach our happiness to the external factors. The moment we start delinking that and say, no, you know what, I have a car, I don't have a car, I choose to be happy.
Hmm.
You start becoming more and more free, more and more detached from the, I feel that, from the external influences. Um, like a kid, when you see a child is happy most of the time, right? Even if the child is crying, they cry for a bit and then they come, and the next moment they're laughing. So happiness does exist, but it's as the child grows up, when they become 5 year, 7 year, 10 year, teenager, adult, this conditioning of the mind that layers and layer, and then we become
Hmm.
like where we are.
And we're making life complicated by that, yes. But a
Uh,
simple life, actually, it's enjoyable to watch a kid every day because you see that he doesn't have a sense of the world, basically, but he's happy. Most of the time, he's happy. I want to be like that
and free,
and free. Oh, yes, the free.
not worried
Okay.
about what people think, doesn't care, can roll on the floor, you know.
Mm,
So, yeah.
yeah. We're always looking for some way of other people acceptance, which shouldn't be really our purpose in life.
Mm.
I
So,
think we're looking for other people's acceptance the same as we're looking for having more and bigger and larger as an escape from ourselves, because it's
Mm,
much easier to get the item or to get let's say acceptance of another person rather than get it internally from yourself.
mm,
Because if we have a lot of traumatic experience, it's a necessity to disconnect from this experience. It's painful to be myself. It's very painful to be aligned with myself because I'm carrying so much traumatic experience. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why I will look outside, not because I value items and other people's attention so much, but because it's very painful and very difficult to be by myself
Mm-hmm.
or myself. Yeah.
Okay, that's very interesting, and I think that clarifies a lot of uh, questions why people looking for others to for approval, for yeah, for
Yeah, because it's
acceptance.
much easier. Yeah.
And
Is,
yeah,
is there
than
also
dealing with yourself. Hmm.
is there also a part of us though that's it's kind of deep programming? You know, like rejection is a huge challenge for us as people because if you go back like 10,000 years, not even, you know, from the space of 10,000 years to 3 million years as a species, if you were rejected, you died. It meant you were outside the
Yes,
tribe, you couldn't survive. And
you
so
need to be
rejection
together with your tribe. Yes.
so rejection from your tribe is such a difficult thing to deal with internally, you know. And so we don't even know how to process it emotionally and mentally because you know there's a fear involved in all of that that happens. Hence we try and conform. Hence we try and be who we can be because we don't know that it's not safe to just be ourselves. We don't know that it's not safe to say what we want to say instead of making sure
Hmm.
that we say the right things. Like I think the youth generations and hold hands up. I did the same thing when I was younger. You know, there's all this. We want independence. We want to be ourselves. Yet everyone wears the same thing. Everyone conforms to the same place so that we fit in with
Yeah.
each other in that way. And we do so much of that all the time because that fear is huge. That fear that holds us back with everything is huge.
Yeah, it's scary to look at yourself and be by yourself. That's true.
Hmm.
And I'm looking at the time now. We crossed over an hour a while ago. So, would you? We would talk and talk. That the topic is just unbelievably interesting. Um, we kind of covered all the questions that we had, more or less. If any of you want just to add something before we go into our very controversial segment.
I just would like to add for when people choosing professional, despite who it is, psychiatrist, coach, um, psychologist, to understand their rights because the person already on the vulnerable place mentally, emotionally, maybe even physically in the vulnerable place, and they are hiring professionals, so they have all the rights to require educational documents, qualifications,
Mhm.
and so on, and be empowered to choose the right person whose credentials aligned with your necessities. Yeah. Because what I see, people sometimes shy and they just accepting. Um, like, for example, I see some people will, let's say, claim that they can treat something.
Mhm.
However, their credentials do not allow to do that. Yeah. So I would encourage everyone very, very carefully to review credentials of professionals whom you allow to work with you, because you will be dealing with very sensitive issues, with very emotional issues, and you cannot let yourself to be betrayed, let's say, one more time or another time when you made a step forward to look for help.
Mhm. Mhm. Thank you, Anastasia. That's so right. We actually in our first episode we kind of touched up on this idea that you can buy certificate for $35 online course and you become a coach. Hey, or psychology. I think there are also certificates like that. It can. It not only can. It will do more harm
Yeah.
than it will bring any benefits. And then when the person really in the situation when they need a professional, they will never trust anyone because they had this bad experience. So
Mhm.
yes, thank you, Anastasia, for bringing it up. And that's very important. It's good that we mention. And hey, let's let's have some fun. I know the topic is not really funny or something, but this segment of ours, thank you. It's you have to read all the comments in the social media to know what kind of people are there, and sometimes very useful for this kind of programs. All right, here we go. And the topic is our mental health and well-being. So the unpopular opinion is people use mental health as a way to get attention and to reduce responsibilities. Go. Your opinions.
Okay, I can agree with that, that people may look for attention. But what is wrong about looking for attention? You know, it means that I was not acknowledged in a way or in a degree which I need to be acknowledged, or I didn't have the quality of attention, the connection which I need. So, yes, it could be as a looking for attention, but um, it means that the need was not met and person find it this is the way to meet my needs.
Mhm. Cool. I like
Mm.
that.
Could it not also be someone with very narcissistic tendencies that is
Yeah.
pushing for the attention and the attention and the attention? I think too, I do certainly agree with the second part of that about avoiding responsibility. I think the key to mental health is to take responsibility for where you are, and it can be people can use different tools like that
Hmm.
to avoid having to take responsibility for what's going on. And especially from the perspective of something they may need to do and resilience, the lack of resilience that kind of is in a lot of people. When they're confronted with challenges and it puts them under too much pressure. And potentially there's coping challenges with those, but it can be a very quick and easy out.
Hmm. Hmm.
Mm. I agree with what Mark said there about it can be a personality type or part or trait of a personality type that is attention seeking. Um, there was something else I was going to say there, but it was probably so scary I frightened myself out of it. I can't remember what it was now.
I think
It's
also the
okay.
bigger question I feel is how do you know the difference? Like when somebody,
Mm.
you know, sometimes it could
Yeah,
be
that's
your
the
feeling, it
problem.
could be your sense, but it is your sense. It's how you're perceiving it.
Mm.
How do you know whether that person is actually, uh, just seeking attention or actually they're going through something and we're seeing it as attention seeking? How do you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, because it could be a case of the boy who cried wolf as well. If it's somebody who's using it as attention, saying, I don't feel good, I may kill myself, and they say it over and over and over again, that people then who are they saying it to will start to not listen anymore and
Hmm.
miss out on the actual cues that something's actually going to go down if nothing is done here.
I
I
would like
think.
to add one more point that even if we assume that such thing as a wrong reason to look for support is existing, yeah,
Hmm.
if we assume that it will be wrong to go to seek help, I believe the professional person, whoever it will be, psychologist or coach or psychiatrist, they it will be their part to um, to turn it around, and uh, so the person will still benefit
Hmm.
from having these services.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hope it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
I agree with that totally. There's a critical thing that is developing a little bit in our society that we need is compassion and compassion for others, because you never know what battles people are actually fighting. I think in a situation
Mhm.
where if we are to be so flippant as to say that maybe people are using mental health as an excuse, or whatever, then to approach that compassionately means that we ask, how is it affecting you? What's going on for you in this situation? How can I help you in this situation? So if somebody's using it, you question them from a very honest space, and you try and bring them to the surface for what's going on, and then at least you're beginning to try and help in some way, shape, or form. If this is something real, and if it's not something real, you're also helping.
Very, very rightly said, and this is exactly what I was going to say. That even if you know that they're not coming from, it's not a genuine, they're not genuinely going through something, but they're pretending just to escape, whatever the reason is. But the fact that they're choosing to do that also kind of says that something is not okay. It may not be mental health related directly, but something is not okay, and definitely something can be done to help. Like what Mark said, that whatever it is that for them to kind of maybe become aware, or it could be something else, like an attention. They're just probably seeking attention, but why are they seeking attention? Where does that come from? Something is definitely imbalanced. That is kind of pushing them to behave in a certain way.
Mhm.
So I think there as well, definitely help. When we say that we're non-judgmental, we truly, I think, when we see somebody, when I see somebody, I truly want to come from that space of non-judgment, even if I somewhere may feel that I know that this person's playing around, or there's something else behind it. But the fact that this person is doing this, it already is a trigger that says that
Mhm.
something is not okay.
Mhm. Yeah, as Mark said, it's probably narcissistic personality or something. Especially if you're trying to get some benefits or get rid of some responsibilities just by claiming you have mental health issues and you're struggling. Yeah, that normal person will not do that, basically. All right. So, if you have anything else to, yeah, anything else you want to add? Because I would like to chat more and more. It's the conversation can continue until tomorrow. That's fine. But
I
I
want to
think,
reiterate just, Darya, the point you made earlier on about, for anyone
hmm
who is struggling with mental health, for anyone who is out there and they're trying to go through stuff on their own and trying to figure out how to do things on their own, there is someone who can help. And if
hmm
it's not a family member, because you don't feel like you can open up because there will be judgment, there are people who can help, and you don't know the value you get from actually talking and sharing a
hmm
burden like that. And you never know, because wherever you are in the world right now, this is not where you're going to be. Things change all the time, and things can look different, and things can look better. So just opening up can suddenly be the catalyst for your life changing for the better and making it great.
yeah, yeah. Ask for help. Don't be afraid. Just to have conversation with someone else. Open up, and you will see things might get better, and they will.
And I think I
Okay.
also want to
Yeah.
add to that I think be available for people when they're asking for help. Even if you don't have the skill set, refer them to somebody, but be available.
hmm
That's I think that's
hmm
also equally
Yeah.
important.
Yeah. Thank you, Shari. Well, we probably will end here, and in a few days, maybe tomorrow, day after tomorrow, you can watch a shorter version of this live broadcast. We'll put something interesting from our today conversation. And every Thursday, live at 10 p.m. on UAE time. During live stream, you can put comments and we will read them and answer. Today, we didn't have any, but hey, we'll see you next time probably. Thank you very much, Vaishali. Thank you very much, Anastasia. It was very, very big pleasure to have you here. And it's great that you agreed to come here and talk about things. Thank you, Emma, that we've lost connection with, but we'll see her. And please, if you think that you enjoyed it, please like, subscribe, and put some comments below. We'll answer next time if we don't see it now. And our guests, please join us next time if you think that this is something that interests you and a way to send a message. We'll be happy to have you again.
Thank you for
Thank
having
you for
us.
having us here.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark.
Good to
We'll
see you
see you
outside.
next time. Yeah. And yeah, have a good night. Have a good day wherever you are. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Darya.
Bye.